Okay, namaste and welcome to this webinar entitled COVID-19 and Prospect and Challenges of E-Governance in Nepal by Asian Institute of Diplomacy International Office, AIDIA, which is a foreign policy-based think tank in Kathmandu. Let me briefly introduce our distinguished panel of experts, and I must say that we have truly the terrific experts today with us from around the world to discuss on this topic. We have Mr. Ashok Kumar Seetharaman sir from Center, who is the Center Director of E-Governance Leadership at National University of Singapore. With over 35 years of ICT experience, he has been actively engaged with the leaders in Sri Lanka, India, Bangladesh, and ASEAN countries, advising them on strategic planning and management of digital government initiatives. Mr. Ashok Kumar is also the expert in the advisory group of United Nations E-Government Ranking Committee, and was also one of the 100 most influential leaders in the digital government. Similarly, we have Professor Elchin Aliyev, President at SINAM company of Azerbaijan. SINAM Limited is the leading IT company in that region, and which is also recognized as the e-government solutions provider and system integrator. Similarly with us, we have Linar Vik, co-founder and program director at Smart Governance at the E-Governance Academy, Estonia. He has advised Estonian and many other government to ICT and innovation policy, and is also recognized as an IT visionary. Linar has been instrumental in the rapid development of Estonian computer and network infrastructure, as well as the Estonian internet voting and electronic signature project. Similarly with us, from Nepal, we have Biswas Dhakal, who is the president of F1 International Private Limited. I think it is worth to mention that almost 90% of Nepal's banks are using the at least one form of the F1 solutions. And similarly, ECOR, Nepal's first leading online payment gateway with an integrated digital wallet, is currently used by around 5 million people here in Nepal. Biswas was also awarded with the Global Entrepreneurs 2011. Similarly, we have Dr. Devid Kumar Basyal, sir, who is the PhD on Public Policy and Administration and Assistant Professor MPhil Program, Nepal Open University, and faculty of Master Program, Kathmandu Moral College, Tribhuvan University. And finally, we have Honorable Ganesh, sir, who is the former Minister of Environment, Science and Technology of Nepal, and the Standing Committee member of Nepal Communist Party, and also the advisory board of AIDIA. So I'd like to once again welcome you all to this discussion. I think it will be wise on my part to avoid making details initial remarks in front of such a terrific panel of experts, as I said earlier. But we are looking forward to know more about some of the interesting initiatives of your respective countries. For instance, like Singaporean initiative of collaborative government, which includes co-creating the e-services for greater value, connecting the citizens in policy domain with their active participation and catalyzing the whole government transformations through innovations. Correspondingly, like plans of Azerbaijan to switch from the existing one-stop shop model to the new non-stop shop model of e-governance, and some of the fascinating ideas initiative like e-resident electronic voter card, digital embassies as information backup system in case of cyber attack from Estonia, and more. So I think as our major objective of this webinar is to contribute in building and promoting the e-governance in Nepal by better understanding the models and experiences from the different countries. I think we need to listen first from our distinguished speaker from Singapore, Azerbaijan, and Estonia. So without further ado, I'd like to request Ashok sir for your interventions, and then we'll go to Dr. Elchin sir from Azerbaijan. So Ashok sir, over to you.
Namaste. Thank you very much. And you need to enable my screen sharing, Shyam?
Yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, done.
So thank you very much for inviting me for this session. It's been a great pleasure. And I've had several officers from Nepal public sector who has visited Singapore and attended several of our program. So in the next few minutes, in the interest of time, let me, with your permission, let me quickly just move this. So are you able to see my screen? Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, okay. So let me just go ahead and try to summarize in the next 10 minutes some of the initiatives in this context. So we are a part, very quick introduction. We are from National University of Singapore, which has been ranked first in Asia for almost over a decade now. And we are one of the 17 schools where I head up this e-government leadership center, which deals with public service innovation, citizen engagement, digital government transformation, and smart nation. And that's where we do capacity building, a lot of consulting and applied research. So to date, we have about 6,500 officers, including Nepal, and about 134 countries. And we talk about over 140 topics in the domain of digital innovation and transformation, ranging from technical subjects like cybersecurity, right up to leadership topics, right? So that was a very quick overview of what we do. So to get into the subject, if you ask this question, who led digital transformation in your organization, especially in the recent context? And for those of you who are familiar with Kaun Banega Crorepati, who wants to be a millionaire? Was it your CEO? Was it your CTO? Was it your COO? Or was it COVID-19? Right? So on a positive note, while COVID-19 has disrupted us quite a bit, but on a positive note, COVID-19 has done what we could not do in the last 20 years in terms of having spent a lot of money in effort and money in topics like change management, in topics like communication, in topics like adoption of technology. And this has given us a very good opportunity, while we have a whole list of issues and challenges created by COVID-19, but some of the good opportunities that we have. So let's just talk about that. So I'm going to talk about three things over the next few minutes for e-governance. Now, this is lessons learned from some of these exercises. While I'm going to use a lot of Singapore examples to give you, to make a point, but be rest assured that these are really fundamental in nature and has nothing to do with Singapore, its state of readiness or size of Singapore or whatever. All of these are fundamental principles that are applicable for any e-governance initiative. Right? The first one is the agility. Right? When I say agility, what I mean by it, let me give you an example. The moment we had this pandemic and we started to realize this, beginning of February, January, yep, there were news about it. We've had the brunt of SARS, H1N1 in the past. So we thought we are very well prepared for it. But soon realized that this is a totally different paradigm altogether. And so we came up with some of these traceability applications. The first agility was to contain and do tracing. So we came up with a simple Bluetooth application. And this was published, open source, anybody could take it and modify it and run with it. This was developed mid-February, deployed in late February. What it does is, you keep this active running at the background, it keeps a log in a secure place of the people in your proximity using Bluetooth. And the moment one of them has been identified, you would be proactively notified. So this was one of the applications. Another application. Now this has become very mandatory. Each of the establishments that you visit, you need to have this register, the log. So it's an automated mechanism for your safe entry and log out of that particular premises. For example, now this has become a mandatory by law. All the establishments will have to use this. If you go to the shopping center, Fair Price is one of our supermarkets, popular supermarket chain. You will not be let in unless you show that pass saying that, yes, you have registered. And this is how you do a QR code. And with a single press of the button tied to your identity on your phone, and you register yourself. And this is not only for shopping centers, even in public places like parks, right? So these are the applications which came up, which is a part of very important administration. And then we use a lot of data analytics, a lot of visualization to determine the various stages and clusters around Singapore. And visually, you are able to drill down to a unit, a block, to say there are patients here which are COVID infected, right? So a lot of technology is being used in order to manage the situation. Then we have this masks, social distancing policies and laws. Let me just talk about it. Now, when the government insisted, or rather came out with an order that you need to have your masks, and also distributed them. So there was a lot of confusion as to where do I get masks? So this application, where you can enter your postal code, it will tell you exactly which community center do you need to go and get your mask, free masks, was deployed, developed and deployed within 11 hours, all right? So that is the kind of agility we are talking about. There is a requirement, there is technology available, the need for people. How do you use and leverage on technology? Of course, now for the last 2 weeks, it's become a little more automated, where it is tied to your ID, and you can go and 24/7 go and dispense masks at regular intervals. So there are dispensing machines in the community centers. The moment social distancing rules came, amazing, within 24 hours, restaurants, public places, parks, each one of those had such social distancing markings. And let me just share this with you. Now, this is Boston Robotics, which has been deployed in one of our national parks. And this is a dog robo, which goes around the park. In addition to surveillance, it also does and reminds people, once it spots people are not within maintaining that social distancing, it will highlight and speak out an audio. Let me just play it for a few seconds. So technology is being deployed in multiple manner. And this is just a quick example. Sorry, let me just go to the next slide. And then there are policies which came out, which quickly became law. It was introduced on Parliament on 7th, and it became a law on 8th. So that's the agility we are talking about. And the law did not remain constant. What happened was we discovered new things and we found that new measures that needed to be put in place. And to give you an idea, from 8th April, when the law was introduced, almost every week, the law has been amended in order to be relevant to the requirements. While you can come up with the laws and process it in the parliament, what is equally important is to enforce them as well. So people are people. There were people who did not follow law here, and Singapore being Singapore, there were some prosecutions as well for the people who did not obey the law, right? So it needs to be a combination of a quick reaction and implementation and enforcement. The second thing, lesson learned, is dealing with disruption. Now, this entire thing has caused a lot of disruption to the businesses. Our minister, as he very rightly said, he is the deputy prime minister. He says, we can't protect jobs that will be made redundant. But what we can do, and we will do, is to protect every working man and woman. And what we mean by that is, by creating job opportunities, by matching jobs, by reskilling. So this is a major effort that's going on at the moment. We have embarked on a very large job matching program. So this was discussion and decisions passed in the parliament yesterday. SG United, 10,000 jobs to be created in the next 1 year. A whole lot of activities going around for that. One example, as you would know, airline industry is worst hit. Singapore Airlines is no exception. But what has Singapore done to cope and deal with this situation? We have redeployed. If you think about it, the SIA crew, cabin crew, they are supposed to be caretakers, right? Hospitality part of it. So we have redeployed them to lesser intensive duties at the hospital and redeployed the nurses and qualified people to attend to COVID cases, right? So that is what has happened. So these guys are gainfully employed in different hospitals, and at the same time, the resource, the very short resource of nurses have been deployed for more needy purposes. We are also rethinking about the education itself. What kind of education, what changes do we need to do to prepare for a post-COVID-19 kind of a situation? And therefore, there's a lot of readiness that these graduates need to have to the industry. While there are a lot of these implications, we are really pushing ahead with the digital initiatives. Example, this is a coffee vendor. I mean, this is a simple coffee shop. But the moment he goes cashless, the moment he goes online, and the government is subsidizing this by, or promoting this by giving him a 10K grant for such businesses, encouraging them to go digital. So those are initiatives which are taken care of. At the same time, Singapore has aging population. We also want to make sure that the employers do not take this opportunity or take this, not opportunity, excuse to retrench elder, older, senior citizens. So there are a lot of laws and regulations in place not to dump them in the under this excuse. Like our Minister for Communication and Technology says, to succeed in this, you need the X factor, and the X factor is the willingness, the mindset. So there's a lot of this, we are leveraging on this opportunity given to us to turn it into, the challenge to turn it into an opportunity. And of course, there are a lot of these blueprints, and there are a lot of these people. We are appointing 1,000 digital ambassadors. And what does it mean? These are the people who will help senior citizens and hawkers with very limited, to bridge the digital gap, to train them to use these technologies. Skills, therefore, becomes a very centerpiece of our strategy moving ahead, right from the schooling to working and growing your career. And the last point that I wanted to highlight was, how do we accelerate this digital Singapore? We have come up with an digital economy framework, where we have come up with transformation map for 23 industries in Singapore, starting from retail to hospitality to a whole lot of things, right? How do they digitally transform, and come up with very specific programs for them. All of these are public documents, digital government blueprint, and outlining, as Shyam was mentioning, what needs to be done, who are your stakeholders, how do you deliver that? Most importantly, while it is digital to the core, the most important one, serve with heart, with empathy. So that is our slogan. We have the services and digital economy frameworks, which take us through the various journey and using technology as well. These are the industry transformation map that I was talking about. So if you do a Google, you will find a lot of information for the 23 industries and how do they transform. Technology stacks to enable fast deployment of solutions. Cloud architecture solutions, which are both private and public sector. This is what the co-creation that Shyam preluded to. And looking at citizen services, which are built around not transactions, but events of people and around them. And this is one of the applications which are very popular, called Moments of Life, which is built around life events of our citizens. And of course, data becomes very important for any co-creation. And we do have a fairly robust national data and open data that is available for co-creation, right? So in summary, agility is important. We spoke about the various applications and policies that we came up with. Dealing with this disruption, a mindset, the skills and jobs, digital adoption, making this challenge into an opportunity. And finally, accelerating it, you do need to have plans, infrastructure, and enablers in order to go digital, right? So with that, thank you very much for for the time given to me and for inviting me to this talk. Thanks.
Thank you, sir, for your very focused and I would say appealing presentations. Due to the time constraints, I'll not like re-emphasize what you already said. So I'd like to move with now Dr. Elchin Aliyev from Azerbaijan, who is the president of SINAM Company Limited. So over to you, sir. Dr. Elchin. Please, can you? Yeah.
Hello to everybody. Yeah. It's a pleasure to participate in this such kind of webinar and touching the points talking about this COVID-19 and some challenges in digitalizations of the countries. Especially we now are talking about, you know, the Nepal from the experience from other countries. First of all, again, I would like, again, thanks to the very excellent presentation of my colleague from Singapore, Mr. Ashok Kumar. Thank you very much, yeah, really. And it looks like you touch quite interesting issue. What the country, particular country, should do in this situation where we now just be living. Since last year, end of the last year, this pandemic COVID-19 entering to the life, not one country, but it's first time happened. We look into the past, we see the world wars, but it's sometimes the continents was under the war. But now the world is under this strange war, under this strange situation. And from this point of view, it's interesting that we should think towards globalization, digitalization from two prospects. One is that now the countries are mostly in lockdown, so they close their borders. It means it could be, we can think that it's stopping of the globalization, but from another part, it's required the new technologies, digitalization to survive, to live, and to be in contacts. From this point of view, this technology will give us a new opportunity how to build our lives, how to move forward. The economics should grow, and I think that life will be the same, but it will bring us in another level. And the topic of our webinar is how to move fast. What should we do? From this point of view, there are two approaches. One is the local things, that short and middle term. What to do right now with this pandemic? And from this point, Mr. Ashok Kumar demonstrated excellent experience of the Singapore. We know we study this, your mobile applications and how the government trying to struggle against Singapore. And I think the countries should study, should learn these lessons from your country. You are doing very right ways, steps. And from this point, the whole country should just look and should work, study these experiences of each other with this mobile application, with this, social distancing, with this behavior of the government and behavior of the people. It's one thing. I'm being in a private sector, but advising the government since several years. We are a company, SINAM is 25 years, more than 25 years, and we are now one of the digital solutions, e-government solutions provider. And we built this kind of thing, this name, enabling government transformation for the countries, and how to make these changes, how to build efficient government. And right now, when we are staying in lockdown, it's good time to think from the country point of view, how to build it quickly, what should we do? And I had some pleasure to visit Nepal this year. Thanks to Mr. Sunil KC, he organized a very good meeting, very good. It was a quite interesting delegation of the private and the public entities from Azerbaijan to Nepal. From private, it will be SINAM as a partner of the government in Azerbaijan in building e-government. For the government side, we have an organization named ASAN. ASAN is innovation center and a public service center, which directly reported to government, who is responsible for all e-government issues and for all citizens' relationship between government and citizens. And we look, and by the way, this ASAN is well recognized by the world, by the United Nations. According to 2015, they got the best public service award over the globe to serve citizens. This is the organization #1, according to 2015, provide online, offline services to the citizens. According to the award of the UN last year, 2019, they got award for the online services for the citizens. From this point, it was a quite good visit. We met in the short 3 days, we met 6 ministers of Nepal. And right now I can say that it's right time to think about master plan of the digital transformation of the country. We have a chance to look through the previous 15 years old document prepared by Korean consultants, the view for the digitalization and e-services in Nepal. And it's quite a long time passed. You need to think in country how to do it nowadays, and studying the experience of the other surround countries and other countries like Azerbaijan, of course, Singapore, Estonia is very important. But before preparing this master plan, the important thing is the ownership. Who will be the owner? Who will drive the project? And this is very important thing. In Azerbaijan, in the year 2012, the ASAN was established under the decree of the president and reporting directly to the president of Azerbaijan. It means, it demonstrates higher importance of these services, of this activity for the government, for the president of the country. And thanks to that, it was happened, and we have a great success. We have a success, and this is success, demonstration of this success. This is awards which we got from the United Nations. And right now, it's a time to think, try to advise, you should advise right now to the government to establish such kind of body. It could be Minister of Communication, Information Technology. It could be Minister of Social Innovation, Minister of Economic Development. But it definitely should be some maybe additional government entity which is direct reporting to the high level of the country, who will be responsible for this kind of things. And then you should start your journey. By the way, 2 days ago, the Mr. President opened another 16th ASAN center in a region. So we have we have this regional ASAN service centers, and we have e-government center who serve it virtually through online. And being a partner of the government and working with the public-private partnership, we are building several very important projects if we are talking to the Nepal or other countries who would like to do it from scratch. This is now in being in this social distancing, being in pandemic situation, the digital communication is very important. From this point, the projects like e-signature, like e-document workflow solution, within government and between interaction between government and citizens could be a #1 project in the country. And the important thing is that, as a matter of fact, is that there are several approaches. When the government allocates money in their budget and starts the project, and another approach could be projects based on public-private partnership. This is an important thing, and from this point, I think that Nepal, especially in this COVID situation, can have a benefit of this approach, where they can invite different public-private sector to be an investor in the government. Another approach could be government-to-government approach and public-private partnerships through government-to-government approach. For example, for instance, if Nepali government will have some relationship with the Singapore government, and then Singapore government has experience in this project, they can do it through their public-private partnership. These projects can be implemented successfully in Nepal. Here in Azerbaijan, we had some discussion after the visiting Nepal, and our country are ready to build this bridge between Nepal government and Azerbaijan government. And we are ready to share our experience building these kind of projects. And being in public-private partnership in Azerbaijan, we can transfer this partnership to Nepal government as well. From this point, you can save your huge investments, because being a private sector, we can make investment to the government. Right now, we are ready to start working. We can invite experts from other countries as well, like Singapore, like Estonia. Thanks, you are here, and to build this, expert group to look through the master plan of digital government in Nepal. And if you, like a company who can working in the AIDIA, you can start this activity, and you can manage this activity. The result can be delivered to the government of Nepal. Talking about the success of the projects, I can touch different sectors, and we are ready to share this experience with the Nepal government as well. In finance sector, now it's quite interesting project we started in Azerbaijan, and I know that now more than 20 countries are building. This is immediate payment, fast payment system, which managed by central bank, where all the banks can provide 24/7 hours, 7 days, 24-hour services for all financial sector of the country, pushing from cash economy to cashless economy. We have ability to build these projects based on investment basis. Another approach could be, as I mentioned, this cloud service for e-document workflow solutions. It could be an investment project where the government can benefit of the results without any investment from their budget. Of course, now it's lockdown. Now the country's borders are closed. The people cannot travel. The tourism industry, you mentioned this, airlines, they are really in a very bad situation. But countries should think that sometimes in months, 2, 3, 5, again, the countries will open the borders. You cannot survive being close just within borders of the one country. From this point, you can think with some new initiatives like e-visa, electronic visa approach. You can, of course, with some COVID situation, could be some COVID passport attached to this e-visa approach or something other thing. And from this point, we have in Azerbaijan this experience, successful experience in this e-visa, where SINAM being in partnering with Assam, we are providing this electronic visa approach to the country since 3 years. Of course, now it stopped. Now it stops, but again, having this break, we rewrite some part of the software, review our main site, our disaster recovery site, and again, we are ready in a short time when the borders will be open. This service can be started again, and not only in Azerbaijan, but it operates in 17 languages, and it could be established in Nepal government as well. Another thing is that without partnership between government and private sector, without wide partnership with the experience of the different countries in all the globe, you cannot have a success in Nepal. And I like your approach when you are trying to contact with these leaders worldwide. Of course, pandemic situation will change our minds. Of course, regarding the businesses, regarding the education, we should move towards some distance learning approach, something. And again, here we need to share all experience of the key players worldwide. And I suggest, let's say, to the participants, not stop with the results of this webinar, but maybe it will be good if we will establish this working group and trying to indicate at least some schedule or of this activity. I mean, and what to find what could be a content of this master plan of the Nepal, and then maybe trying to find some funds from some international donors. Or we can do it our in-kind contribution to do it, and to prepare this master plan and to deliver it to the Nepal government. Thank you very much, and I will share with you all the presentation regarding of Assam, of SINAMs. I just like to have this dialogue which between each other and establish good relationship between each us, because I think that we can cooperate together to prepare this master plan, to prepare this digitalization, visual to digitalization of Nepal in a shortest future. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for your practical suggestions that how Nepal can, build and promote the e-governance from the like Azerbaijani experience and the experience from the other countries. I think that is really, helpful for us to, in coming days. So now I think due to some technical reason we have lost the Linar sir from Estonia. My colleague is trying to reconnect with him. So maybe now I can go with Biswas sir.
Thank you. It was a nice presentation also, sir. And Elchin, it was a really good insight about Azerbaijan thing also. So first of all, like as seeing the presentation from Singapore and the concept and then the hard work that is in place in Azerbaijan. So in comparison, like where we are far behind. So, and then like there are a few things which I consider like is because of like the understanding of the infrastructure, the foundation for what's happened in 24 hours or what is possible within 12 hours is because of the foundation that is built a year and year back with the vision that with the strong vision of leaders and then the stakeholders who believe that this is the only thing which will keep country in a safe hand, as well as whenever the disaster come can be managed easily. So that shows like the Ashok sir presentation shows that it's really insightful. The thoughtful leader needs to be there to imagine the next disaster. When disaster will happen, we need to be prepared with having a good foundations laid in a very strong manner. So I want to touch base on the very first scenario where we are in Nepal, like where like we don't have a very strong foundation of even like a digital ID kind of national ID kind of things, where people, the citizen will be tracked and traced where they are, what they are doing, where they are moving, are they in Nepal or aren't they in Nepal. So it's like a little bit of the foundation is a little weak from that angle. And you can imagine that where I'm like with the, that is not tagged, if we don't have that foundation, you can even tag my health history, my the hospital or the education or the property or anything else. So it starts from there. So, but the thing is like on the positive note, this government is like working a little hard on the technology side. The aspiration is there, but still what I believe is like it matters with the schooling. So the thing is like our leader, they come from the different background. They have like different mindsets. So they have like different aspirations. So in that scenario, I don't see the alignment between those leaders who believe that technology is the foundation for next growth leap. So in that scenario, I think schooling is very important. So those people need to understand why Singapore did able to manage this pandemic situation so well with the trace tracking. And as mentioned in the Ashok sir presentation also, it's like really helpful. People gets engaged, people gets participated, like everyone is like so responsible because of the impact they can understand with those situations. So I think first of all, on the technology side, we need to have a little bit of build the understanding with the use cases, what's happened with those countries where like technology are laid so well before the COVID, and how they able to trace and then they manage the situation. So other part is like if we have the mindset from the leaders, from the bureaucrats, from the politicians, what's needed and what can be done in the initial day. So without jumping into the any big projects or any components. So the thing is like we need to see our foundations, either that is helpful or not. So if that is able to deploy it on that aspect, then maybe like the API based things and then these digital economy, the blueprint, everything will work well. But if you want to put like the one stone on top of another stone without having a good foundations, then it can't operate as per like the expected or with the knowledge of or the expertise we have at our end. So I think it's the right time to government to rethink on the foundation of the government digitization side, not from like office to office digitization, but from the national level of digitization. That means like the social front, as well as the health front, education front, everywhere. So it needs to be led well, and rightly said, like by my friend also. So there, government, if government has an interest, government has an understanding or the value of digital aspect, then there are like so many private players around the world, including Nepal or outside Nepal, are eager to work on the PPP part, so public-private partnership. So my all the time in the public forum, public speaking, I all the time say like government doesn't need to invest a penny if they have a willingness to implement the digital platform, and it can be happen without no time, because one player is not going to work here. If government allows on the PPP partnership, hundreds and thousands of players around the world will work here to build the hundreds and thousands of components parallelly, and our government and our nation will be digitized over like period of 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, but need to understand what we are going to achieve in the next 5 years with those ideas, with those framework that have built or established or sketched in the day one. So if that concept is built, I think like the public-private partnership will be the only way that will work in the country like Nepal, where we don't have a big budget to invest in the infrastructure and in the technology side. There will be a huge player, huge partners eagerly waiting to get the signal from the government side, and they don't need to invest anything. Because what I believe is like if private sector comes in a public-private partnership, they take the responsibility to train the people sitting serving at the government office to use the technology in a proper way, that people get service in a best affordable way. So that means until and unless the technology serves, they won't make money. So it's like a win-win situation for both the companies and in the country also, to make any components workable so that the private company can generate revenue out of that. So I think Nepal needs to rethink on that part, and leaders needs to understand the value of the technology, and not only the technology, the bits and pieces of technology, but on the foundations that will help on a longer run to build our nation a digitally enabled country. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think like you have highlighted the there should be kind of political realizations in the nation first, and then we also need to like reassess our existing infrastructure, which can ultimately support to promote the e-governance inside the nations. And for that matter, public-private partnership is also very, very crucial. So now I'd like to move with Devid sir for your presentations. Yeah, I think you need to unmute yourself.
Okay. So am I audible now?
Yeah, right.
Okay, thank you. Namaste and good afternoon from Kathmandu. Very nice to hear Ashok sir and Elchin sir, as well as Biswas sir. I am a researcher of public management. I just finished my PhD in public management from South Korea. So I have seen a lot of changes there, and my first-hand experience as well as some researches. So for this, I wanna share some ideas that I obtained from my own research. Okay, it might be very initial thing for you guys. What may I share screen?
You can, sir. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the so why government means we already know that governance is for serving the people, and e-governance is for the application of information technology. That is for the smart governance. Smart where stands for smart, moral, accountable, responsible, and transparency. I'm going to from the very beginning and basic, because I want to show clearly what are our problems, actually the challenges that we are facing now. So once we get clear about these basic things, then hopefully we'll be able to find out Nepalese kind of problem here. So this e-government concept got more space after the publication of Reinventing Government by Osborne and Ted in 1992, as we know, and Al Gore, the then Vice President of US. They created National Performance Review, and with the concept of new public management, where focus is on that 5 is like the government should be effective, economic, efficient, equity, like these things. And in 1998, when Bill Clinton passed the Government Paperless Elimination Act, then e-government took place. So why e-government? E-government for lean, seen, and clean government. It is transfer of physical society to e-society, and it to eliminate state level bureaucracy and to establish screen level bureaucracy. And where we stand globally, what is our position globally, Nepal's position? By looking the maturity model of e-governance, 2002, we are just in the second stage. The second stage is the stage of interaction just. So as Ashok sir already told, and Elchin sir told that the country like Singapore and South Korea, even Azerbaijan, they are almost in the 4th stage. Their integration already happening, but we are just in the second stage, even not full implementation of second stage. So this is our grave and very sad reality. We have to understand this very fact, and by looking the United Nations e-government development index, EGDI, this 2018's data, by looking this data, the EGDI in 2018 was 0.475. That shows we are in the medium level with 117th rank out of 195 countries. So we are very far behind in this scenario globally. And by looking the national arrangements, we have a Department of IT under the Ministry of Communication and Information Technology. We have National Information Technology Center working as a GIDC. We have around 22 ministries, but only 6 ministries are GIDC only providing service for only 6 ministries so far. So that's a very poor condition, right? And control of certification, Office of Control of Certification, and National Information Technology Coordination Council. That was just last year highlighted by the direct monitoring of Office of Prime Minister. So these are our national arrangements. And we have also laws, policies, acts, and programs. So this is the reason why I want to show. I'm marking them as with red. We have started the first IT policy in 2000, and that policy again amended in 2010, and again the third IT policy that was started in 2015. So we have made a lot of IT policies. They amended, and we have Electronic Transaction Act, Master Plan. Is Elchin sir already told that. I think the kind of this e-government master plan is becoming a joke in Nepal, you know, because the first e-government master plan 2007 to 11 was a almost failure. I wrote 2 papers on that issues, and the other researcher has also done a very research on that, and his research result also shows that the first e-government master plan was very it was very huge failure, I say. And we have Education Master Plan, IT Umbrella Act, National Broadband Policy, IT roadmaps. So by looking all these laws, policies, acts, programs, plans, that we have plans. I think I have to record. So what are the problems? The simple thing of e-government is using IT by government to serve its public, its citizen, right? It's very simple. There's no more than that. But unfortunately, we have still some basic problems, foundation, like we have still lack of ICT infrastructure. We not have sufficient hardware and software development. The power supply problem, still we have. I was looking one data of this 2020 economic survey. 118 municipality and village municipality, they don't have electricity at all. This is very tragic condition, right? So if we talk about this thing in the international forum, most of the people laugh at us, but this is the sad reality. And lack of leadership and government will. I think this is the most important thing, that the very poor countries like Nepal, they are very lag behind in the implementation of e-governance and e-government, because most of the minister, even the prime minister and the top level bureaucrats, they are literate but not digitally literate. I say so. Still, there are very lag behind in the digital literacy things. So this is one of the reasons that we are not moving forward properly. And implementation problem is also another thing. And political administration stability. However, nowadays we have a majority government, but there is still administrative stability in the sense that one, there is no any one minister comes and he works for the full time, like 5 years or 10 years. So there is continuous changes from one ministry to another ministry, and another ministry, like this. So the one person cannot serve the whole tenure of his life in that any particular ministry. That might be the another reason our programs, policies are falling behind. So another digital literacy and less citizen assurance towards e-government reliability. For example, I want to give this smart driving license. Last year, I went to make my smart driving license, and 3 days in row, there was a server down. And in the last 2 months back, I think my brother-in-law, he had applied license, and I think the another guy who has applied license 8 months prior, but they haven't got it. This is the so poor, grave situation of service delivery. So people have less assurance towards the e-government reliability. Even if we go to land management or land registration offices, most of the time they have no any good computer or server down or like these things. So people has less faith on this e-government reliability, and less cooperation and coordination between the stakeholders. So to implement this e-government fully, the government part as well as the citizens part, they must be very compatible to each other. Is Singapore just issues one directives or any rules or notes, any news, and instantly with no second or within minutes, people follow this because there is a system and there is a cooperation and coordination between the stakeholders like citizen and the government, right? So we lack this. And digital device, this is another problem, because I just came from a remote village, not so far remote, medium type of hilly region, last 2-3 weeks back, and what I have seen that most of the people, they have just mobile smartphone, right? And they lack computers, and there is no any Wi-Fi, no free Wi-Fi, like these things. So by looking the urban rural this disparity, there is a digital divide, as well as economically some rich person like us may have some kind of or almost the reach of digital technology, but most of the people, they don't have. So this is another problem. And e-readiness, both government employees and citizens, they are still not properly readily to accept the e-government that is happening now. And problem of resistance to change. This is one of the, in my last one paper in research, I found that the government, even the employees' resistance change is one of the major setback to implement the e-government. So I have done research on IRD, like this is internal Inland Revenue Department, the Tax Administration Department, that is under the Ministry of Finance, and most of the taxpayers, they are still not using these IRD portals by their own. They hire to other guy. So that shows that there is no any properly accepted this kind of things. And problem of corruption. This is another problem in most of the developing countries, I say. And this is, I say, there is Nepal is not no longer get rid of or out of from this. So this is another problem. And what will be the prospectus after COVID-19? So this pandemic exhibits that e-government is a better government. So in this time, we can see that there is no other way than the online or digital way. So this is it shows the essence of this e-government. And now Nepal government is forced to implement better e-government system by force. Yes, it is. I think it will be a great departure to move into the new life. Prospectus are huge. Advanced governments in the world are adopting government 2.0, like Singapore, Azerbaijan, or even Korea and other developing countries, putting government in the hands of citizens. So it is a kind of two-way government. Not only that, with the disruptive technology at the present time, that artificial intelligence, virtual reality, augmented reality, like big data, IoTs, Internet of Things are also in use. So government 4.0, actually after the industrial revolution 4.0, after this concept, this government 4.0 has also been practicing in the developed countries to some extent, and in countries more extent. So like the concept of smart cities, smart farming, smart education, smart village. So these are the things that they will come up in the future. And this COVID
now,
19
can
will
you
be
quickly summarize?
yeah. And so
Yeah.
Nepal also now must move forward to make government more efficient, effective, economic and resilient. E-government is the best way to do that. So I think I'll finish that. So it transfer existing mode of service delivery, physical to virtual. Example is this webinar. By doing this, AIDIA is not only saving money of 7-star or 5-star hotels like this, but also becomes accessible to persons from remote villages and abroad. Like this is very important. And in the context of Nepal, it is more even important, as transportation facilities in remote areas is not good. And e-attendance, e-registration, just like smart card, national ID card, counter automation of sites, e-bidding, e-procurement, online billing system, digital currency. I think these are going to happen in our countries too very soon, because now we have also realized this importance of this. And government circulars, payments, various registration procedures can easily be handled through e-government. And e-education can be an alternative solution during these calamities. So I think so these are some prospects that COVID-19 might bring in our scenario too, because by force we have to attend. There is no other way around except adapting this digital government.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for highlighting some of the policy initiative that is taken by the Nepal government and what are the challenges and problems that we are facing. I think that is really helpful for us to understand that how we can move forward from this point. Now as we don't have many questions in our chat box, what we can do is we can just take the final remarks from each of our speakers in about 2 or 3 minutes. And then we have again joined by our honorable former Minister Ganesh, sir, and then he will make the special address to this webinar. So can I start from Ashok sir again?
About thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I was listening to an excellent discussion by Elchin sir and Mr. Biswas sir and Mr. Devid sir. Thank you very much. Great exposition. A few points. I think the future, whether the leaders like it or not, countries like Nepal and in the region, one of the things that you all have, which Singapore envies, by the way, is youth, the number of youth that you have and the youth dividend, right? And even if the leaders are not responding, the youth will demand. All right. So my message, whenever I've been talking to the last 10 years, talking to people from public sector, I warn them that if they are not reactive and responsive to this, you might end up in almost revolt kind of a situation. So avoid that. The youth will push for it. They will say, your Google and Amazon has this 24/7. Why can't government services be like that? You know, so demand will be there. You have youth dividend. You all spoke, and Elchin sir spoke about the public-private partnership. In my view, that is the future. Government doesn't need to do anything. Government cannot do everything. Co-creation, which is what Shyam had started off with. Singapore government focuses a lot on co-creation, which is collaboration with various entities, and we are focusing on what we call ecosystems, right? Then the third thing was in terms of laws. I think one of you said, I think it was Devid who said, oh, Singapore, I mean, if you pass a law, it gets implemented. I don't think so. People are people. And that's precisely why I highlighted, it is not the laws and it's nothing to do with the people. It is to do with the administration. You have to implement those laws. And Singapore is called Fine City. Now, FINE has two definitions. One is beautiful, nice. The other one is money for every offense that you have. All right. The choice is yours, but end result, yes. People have to conform, otherwise there's no point in coming up with laws. All right. And you also spoke about Clinton coming up with paperless. You see, there was law which was passed in 1998. Now, because of COVID, people don't want to touch currency notes or coins. They don't want to touch papers. Leverage that and just make use of the situation, the challenge into an opportunity. So with that, I'll stop here. Over to you, Shyam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your final statement. Now I'd like to request Elchin Aliyev sir from SINAM, Azerbaijan.
It's really quite interesting. Yeah, we just looked through good experience in Singapore. We got information about, more information about the current situation in Nepal, so-called view from inside. Yeah, and what can I suggest? Yeah, it's again, you mentioned right now that
can you be a little loud, sir?
I would like to suggest some things in addition to. I think that first, that you have this readiness because you have this youth, and I think, but without strong leadership, this kind of project, digitalization, could not happen. Leadership is very important. From this point, I can suggest one thing, maybe we can be partially host this visit of the government of Nepal to Azerbaijan to look this experience of Hassan. By the way, we had this one visit for the immigration office, and the office of foreign office was here regarding this e-visa project, and it was really quite successful. It's better once to see than to hear several times. So this kind of visit, one thing, and the second thing, I suggested already this master plan, but another idea came into my mind. We are ready to start. I am ready to start working with this master plan. You mentioned that years 2007 and 2015, but not successful, with some upgrades. I think you need to have some in Nepal quick wins, and let's start with these quick wins, especially in pandemic again, you mentioned now that about this people who would like to touch a currency, not would like to touch a paper. And this, to suggest this paperless project, e-document workflow, it could be a project. We have our solution, paper e-document workflow from cloud. And we can suggest to start this pilot. The third thing is this cashless, because we are ready to suggest some and share experience of Azerbaijan with this instant payment system, some project in banking sector with Nepal, and again to prepare some vision, but it could not be driven by some commercial bank or one bank. It required some good relationship and demand from your central bank. So my suggestion is, again, visit one, start from continue working with the master plan, starting working with the master plan, and some quick wins. E-document workflow could be this quick win project. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your very valuable insights. So now I'd like to request Biswas, sir, would you also like to answer the questions addressed? Like, I think it is posed to you. My question is that I want to know how supportive is the Nepal government for e-service in policy-wise, and what are the major challenges of e-services in Nepal? It is from Shruti. So you can also include this answer in your statement. Biswas, sir, over to you.
Thank you so much. So on the supportive side, actually, first of all, I want to clarify, like, we are not working closely with Nepal government on any. Our more focus is on a payment side. So we deal with the most of the payment segment and licensed entity under central bank, and we don't have any project relationship with the government entity. So first of all, like on the supportive thinking, like I don't have a concrete kind of answer for that, but definitely, like, what I can say is, like, they have a vision. So they see, like, technology is the next big thing, and we can see the policy that is put forward since last 2 years, and this is the first government who has appointed IT advisor on their committee. So this is the history of Nepal. Like this government has appointed IT advisor. So before that, we didn't have any IT advisor sitting on the Prime Minister's office. So I see there is the interest, there is a little bit of understanding, but at the same time, what I say is, like, what's the challenging part is, like, the alignment. So the one leader can't change entire nation, so it needs to be, like, aligned. You need to see the vision through the leader's lens. So what leader is aiming for, what will happen if we implement, and what will be the consequences if we won't. So I think, like, the alignment is the biggest challenge among the leaders and in the and in the public serving. So if the alignment, the mission vision is clear from the leaders, so what I can say is, like, it's not because of the only alignment, but because of the communication also. So we haven't clarified why we need this from the leader perspective, why we need digital, why we need to have the paperless office, why we need to have a payment, digital payment. So it needs to be clearly narrated, so that how the economic advantage, if we go digital, what will be the economic and then the transparency wise advantage for the nation. So just by saying, like, we need to be digital by 2020 or 2030 doesn't make any sense until and unless we need to make them clear understanding this is the few miles we want to achieve with going digital. And if that makes sense, everyone will accept and buy the idea. If that doesn't make sense, like, everyone will reject the idea. So condition here is, like, I have a dream, but that doesn't mean, like, all the company team or my, like, a coworker will accept my, or like appreciate and then work by heart, follow my dream. So that means, like, I need to clarify with my dream where company will lead. So what will be the advantage for my company? So that means that those people who are associated with the company will have a vision to achieve that. So that's doesn't have a vision or doesn't have a of the digital technology, but there is a kind of little bit of lacking from the leaders who are unable to make them clarify, understand, make them understand on the value of those technology they are talking about. Thank you so much.
Okay, sir. Thank you. And now I'd like to request David, sir. Can you make your statement in 1 minute? Because we are very
okay, it's a very good. Thank you very much. I want to say just one thing. We have our resources, right? And we have master plans and laws, rules, regulation programs, and donors we have, but it is not going to happen effectively. Why? Because I think this is mainly because of the commitment from the leadership and the support from the bureaucratic front. So because this is like most of these government programs, they come from top-down approach, and it's in Sage law of market, it says that supply creates its own demand. But unfortunately, our top leaders and the bureaucrats, they are not understanding the gravity of the e-governance. However, almost all the world, they have entering into the government 4.0, and we are still struggling for the second majority phase of this e-governance adoption. I think that is mainly because of this top level leadership and bureaucrats.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you all of you for your excellent presentations and interventions. Now, I'd like to request Honorable Ganesh, sir, former Minister of Environment, Science and Technology, and also the Standing Committee member of Nepal Communist Party, to address this webinar. Maybe you can make it in around 5 minutes. That would be great. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Shyamji. Distinguished panelist, Ashokji from Singapore.
Thank you.
I am familiar with Singapore because one of my son is working in Singapore. So I am very familiar with how you are working on the digital economy, all these things. Our friends Elchin, Aliyev from Azerbaijan, Dobre Vechar. I also study in the former Soviet Union in Moscow. So somewhere I can smell your technological innovation or all these things you see. And the Devid, our friends, Basyal is also very good friends of mine. We have been working together for many years. I know him. So thank you very much for organizing such a very recent or say timely discussions, especially after the COVID. If you see the trends in Nepal, I'll mark two things, that after the COVID, only one sector has taken a rise is the IT sector. We call it before IT, then you started calling ICT. We are now talking about the digital. So what is the thing you see as a political person I look after? The political regime or democracy and the industrial revolution, you see. When there is a revolution in the technology, when these technical revolution is not being used or not being understood by the politician duly and timely, then that regime normally fails. And one of the example is, I think, Elchin, no, there's also, I say sometimes say, it's the Soviet Union, which a lot of technical development, but that was not being used for the people and that one. Even in Nepal, if you see the different changes since the last 30 years, how it has came. You see political change and the technology. And now we are in the age of the fourth stage of industrial revolution. What you call the digital, what here Shyam has been talking, all of you have been talking, that when we are on the age of fourth industrial revolution, basically digital revolution and nanotechnology, artificial intelligence, on this time the digital governance and digital democracy has becoming very, very important. I remember when I was the minister, we started with the e-governance. master plans of the e-governance. They recently, if you say, after this government has came into power, I will say something what has been the positive sides, you see. First, the government has already adopted a national plan on the digital Nepal. Most of you know, that's other time, next time we can share with you about the digital Nepal. Another is that there is already, Biswas has told, that in the Prime Minister office, there is a team working on that. There is an advisor to the Prime Minister. First time in Nepal on the IT issues. The principal advisor of the Prime Minister is established a very technology friendly people. So on the government level, on the high level, there is a understanding of all these things. But what is the lacking? I think David has very thoroughly told about what are the problems. But I say when there is a problem, there is a big opportunity. And COVID has given a big opportunity in the digital technology. You see, within these last lockdowns, I think thousands of young generations are having the Zoom meeting, Google Meet. Teachers are working on the what is your digital educational platform. So many things are going. You see, whatever David you are saying, how it has failed. The major reason of the failure is our preparedness. We, the people, or the you see, are not prepared for that, and that's why what you have raised the issue of the digital literacy, or the government using in all the sectors when they go or the digital payment, fintech, smart agriculture, or you see digital all payments and other things, you see, education, agriculture, health, but it's a basic needs, what you have put in our constitution, the fundamental rights, how you are going to implement the fundamental rights through the technological things, you see. But the most of the, where I feel sometimes, it is the corruption somewhere. When there is a digital things going, corruption level has to go down. And that's why I fully agree with, that's why we are talking with our Public Service Commission that the young bureaucrats must be digitally prepared, you see. We are talking about the education system, how to make them prepared. We are talking to the farmers, how they have to be digitally, young farmers, you see, smart farmers has to be there. Smart agriculture has to be there. You are talking in the health system is very, very weak this during the COVID. So the different sectors has to be worked coordinately, you see, with the policy, with the educational system, you see. So I think David told, and lastly I'll say, I've been talking to the AIDIA when I see the Elchin and the Ashok, that there is a big need of the cooperation. We should not do what you have done 5 years before, you see. So technology transfer in the digital democracy, what I mean with the Shyamji discussing on the science diplomacy. So in that sector, we should also work behind. And lastly, I'll thank all the panelists and the organizer to do the brainstorming, sensitizing the issues, and so that we can do the further collaboration and cooperation. There is a saying in the, I think most of the French system, for the ocean also, every drops makes the ocean. So let us, or every bricks makes the building. So let us put a one drop of water or one brick in building the digital governance, or the what we call the e-governance. With these few words, I thank you again for giving me the opportunity. I missed you in the between, but I came because today, you know, that there is today is the environment, World Environment Day. So there are a lot of programs going on the virtual loan, and I have to go this meeting and that meeting. So we sometimes say in the digital world also, how you are going to deal with the e-waste. We were starting, you say, now when you go digitally, simultaneously you generate the waste. All this electronic waste. So we have been discussing on the panel how we are going to digital waste. COVID has given a lot of medical waste, you see. So how we are going to make all these things green. So now we are talking, before we were talking the green telecom, you see. Now we have to talk the green digital revolution, how we have to go all this, because environment is important for everybody. So thank you very much. And I will take leave from you.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for
sir.
your
Thank you.
valuable advice. I'd also like to thank Ashok sir, Elchin sir, Biswas sir, and Devid sir. Thank you very much for your participation.
Thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.